Today's episode of PTG is brought to you by the one and only Trans Labs that brought the world two amazing products. First off, Transfuse, which is a hydration multiplier, and most recently, they just dropped Transcend, which is a nootropic energy formula. No matter what you use, when you choose Trans Labs, you are going to be boosted and you are going to be ready to charge the paintball field and win out there. With Transfuse, that is a premium rapid hydration multiplier and immunity fortifying formula scientifically designed to replenish you at the cellular level. And they use all natural ingredients in this product. We've got zinc, we've got vitamin B6, we've got vitamin C, sodium, potassium, choline, and it is an amazing way to make sure that you're hydrated and prepared to play top level paintball. When it comes to Transcend, that is a premium nootropic energy formula designed to increase cognitive performance, elevate mood and clarity while supporting long-term brain health, and it's going to leave you feeling great with no crash or jitters. It's one of the only products in the nootropic space backed by research studies to ensure the formula is correct for optimal performance. It is more potent than anything on the market, and it will keep you charged and ready to win out there. I take one scoop, but if you're stimulant sensitive, take a half scoop, and if you want that LFG dose to launch to the moon, dump 2 scoops in your drink and you are going to be flying down that paintball field. Comes in 2 delicious flavors, Baja Blast and Skittles Candy for the Transcend. And for the Transfuse, they have 2 new flavors as well, Pineapple Express and Hawaiian Punched. So if you get a chance, head over to translabs.com. That's TRANZLABS.com. Use code PLAYTHEGAME and you'll get 10% off. If you subscribe to a monthly delivery service, you also get 10% off as well. So you can take advantage of 20% off on these products. Head over to translabs.com and give it a go. This episode is brought to you by Lone Wolf Paintball. They are an amazing online supplier and have been around since the beginning of the game as Michigan's premier paintball field and paintball supplier since 1987. They are rapidly expanding into the online retail space and supplying everything you need to be the best paintball player you can be. They have got it all. Head over to lonewolfpaintball.com and shop all of your favorite brands. And they also boast amazing customer service and will have this out to you with same-day shipping, which is amazing. It's always nice to know that your stuff is on its way immediately so you can start to use it that very next weekend of play. Check out their YouTube, Lone Wolf Paintball, and their Instagram at Lone Wolf PB, and stay up to date with all of their deals and sales. Play the Game podcast is immensely honored to have them on board, and we cannot wait for you guys to check out lonewolfpaintball.com and become a part of their community.
What's going on, PTG fam? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This episode, we have Vince from Let's Talk Paintball. What did we do? We talked paintball. He is the host and commentator of the premier field at all the NXL events. So he has tons of great insight to the WNXL and the semi-pro players. He's also has his finger on the pulse when it comes to all of the professional moves, divisions, players, everything, all of it, all things paintball. That's what he likes to do, is talk paintball. So we talked a bunch of paintball, and it was a lot of fun. Without further ado, we're going to hop in the show, and hope you guys enjoy.
That was an insane inside move by Marcelo Margot. Great communication.
And the crowd starts chanting Harmon.
Great shot by all the guys. So Tyler Harmon saved that game.
He came out with 2 wins. Marcelo Margot was on fire.
PTG, we got Vince Cunningham on the show from Let's Talk Paintball. Been doing some amazing things in media and just sharing the love of the game, which we love to see in the paintball landscape. How's everything? And where are you tuning in from, brother?
Yeah, man. I'm tuning in from Kansas City, and thank you so much for the intro there. Just trying to just grow paintball media, just trying to show love and support to not just the pros, but everybody out there, all facets. The media people taking pictures, divisional guys and gals out there playing. So just trying to help everybody in general.
Love that. That's what it's all about right there. It's all love for paintball. Throw some hashtags on your photos. All love for paintball. That's where it's at. And we got to just keep pushing the game in the right direction and showcasing it really, and creating these stories and these legacies for people to be entertained by and want to follow, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing too is there's so many storylines in paintball. Not just like I said, the pro stuff is like what everyone really wants, but it's also the discovery piece of like, there are storylines in semi-pro, there are storylines in WNXL, there are storylines in like
Mm-hmm.
divisionals where like teams are moving up from D2 to D3, D2 to semi-pro, like, and they're doing really well. Like, for example, like the Killers, right? The Killers came from D2 to semi-pro first year, and they're crushing it. They're doing really
Amazing.
well.
Yeah.
So getting those storylines out there and getting everybody involved and like looking at teams like that early is something that I love doing. And growing up, I've been around paintball like 20 years, so no one really knew who a lot of those teams or a lot of those guys and gals were until they got to pro. And then it was like you make your pro debut and everyone's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, who is this person? Who is that person? Where did they come from?" And it's like, well, the pros have been watching these guys for years, and that's why they brought them up. Where it's like no one else knew. So, and then the other side of it too is like a marketing aspect, right? If I can get these stories out there, have ESPN pick it up, or create some sort of like platform where some of these lesser known players, like they can sell merch, they can like grow essentially, so before they go to pro, like everyone knows who they are, so then it's like a big story when they actually jump to pro, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and those stories create lifelong fans. That's why people love watching college sports, because they fall in love with the athletes before they start their pro career. There's people that follow players from high school, and they are just excited to see the growth, and they're drawn into the potential of the player. And then once a player finally makes it in the pros, they follow that player for throughout their entire career. And so you
Exactly.
build lifelong fans that way. And here in paintball, unfortunately, sometimes there will be a player that does so well throughout their divisional career, and then they finally get brought up to a pro team, and no one outside of whoever was in their area or scouting them knows who these players are. So fans don't have patience for the player's growth, and they see that player step onto the pro field, could have been the best semi-pro player in the league, but they step onto the pro field and don't do well because it's a huge jump, and fans don't have any patience for it. Oh, that player's not good. It's not worth my time. And they don't pay attention to that player anymore. And that's not how it should be, right?
Yeah,
Like there's a process to all of this, and telling the story of that process is so important. It's a huge reason I was excited to have you on the show. I know Tyler as well, is because, talk about for the culture. That's something here at PTG we are adamant about. Semi-pro, divisional paintball, WNXL is so important to the growth of the sport. It's so important to paintball as a whole getting more publicity. Those stories, that's where we all came from. We didn't just wake up one day and we're professional players. We were all divisional players. We were all kids at the paintball park every weekend, making sacrifices every weekend with our friends, going to these events, schlepping around in the mud, in the rain. Like, we're all paintball players. We're all the same breed, right? And so
yeah.
these stories are crucial. And the fact that something we didn't mention in the intro is that you're also the main commentator for the Premier Field, which is awesome. You commentate all the semi-pro games and the WNXL. So to have you on and really shed some light on some of these up-and-coming players and the WNXL superstars, because they have some legitimate, ballers in that division that have been playing fantastic. So I'm excited for this episode. And like Tyler said, man, we're super grateful, thankful for, what you do. And Let's Talk Paintball is definitely something the sport needs. So
I appreciate that, man. Yeah. And I mean, and realistically, like you guys kind of like set the way of trying to get, paintball into the mainstream media in the sense of like having a podcast and going the extra mile and doing those things. Because like, and we were talking about before the show, like my everyday job is I'm a research marketer. So like I'm in marketing and I do marketing for Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies. Like one of my clients is the largest social media platform in the world. So it's all day, every day. That's all I do is marketing and helping people grow. So, and I always try to use that to help paintball and just reach out and just say, hey, if you need any marketing help, like what can I do? And same thing with like stats and analytics. Like I was so stoked when you guys, were talking about bringing back like stats and analytics, because like every professional organization, like the NFL, like the NBA, like MLB, the reason they're able to have the platforms they have and people can follow things is because I know that Marcelo got 5 kills that, that one point had an outstanding, amazing point, like 5-pack crazy, or like Tyler got 30 kills in a match, right? It's those things I can follow because, when PB Access was doing it, right, that's one of the things that was great because you could go through and like you could check that kind of stuff and like the Winfluence in that. So I'm just like, I'm deep into that world all day. So if I can bridge those two gaps between like my marketing side and everything that I can do, and also help with like growing paintball, because I'm very fortunate, right? I'm very fortunate that my income does not rely on paintball, so I can kind of be agnostic of a lot of things, and I can essentially help grow every brand. I don't have to just stick to GI or stick to whoever, right? Because I don't work within the industry. I'm kind of outside of it. So if anybody reached out for help, I could be like, yep, sure. Hey, here's the things you want to do. Like, here's the strategies. Like, if you want to grow your TikTok or Instagram or, whatever the case may be. So, and that's picked up some traction too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love that. And that's kind of like the Gary V way, right? You give it all away and you're going to not only help a tremendous amount of people around you, but also be a hub source for information and for, that encouragement to go out there and attack your dreams, get the stories out, do the fun things you want to cover, or whatever you're passionate about is really, going after it and using that marketing. And we are working diligently on the fantasy paintball project. So be on the lookout for that. We're, it's not something that we have forgot about. We have been working very hard on that project still to this very day. And it's really cool that you do marketing in such a major way as well. I'd love to pick your brain on that. I know you probably can't dig too deep into what you do with your work stuff, but just any marketing advice that you could give for people out there for paintball and how they can grow their brands or what they should be doing would be tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, it's so eventually where Let's Talk Paintball I want it to grow is to the point where, like, on Thursday or on like a Wednesday at the event before everyone's doing like their practices and that kind of stuff, I would like to get to the point where I have like a booth and literally go through with pros, with divisional players, with whoever, and like, this is how you get started. This is what you have to do. This is the algorithm, so on and so forth. And it's like proof is in the pudding. And what I mean by that is like, my wife is a social media influencer. We grew her TikTok from 10 followers to 100,000 in 18 months. Right. Where nice. She's a paid influencer now. Right. For me, I on Instagram, right, I'm in a very niche sport, targeting a very niche part of that niche sport. And I got, I grew 1,000 followers in a month. My work got real crazy busy. So I had to kind of step back a little bit from it. But I would like to just sit down and like just teach people, hey, because that's another part too. There's not enough social media presence going on amongst like all the players, including some of the pros, right? And I know you guys have peers that are great, phenomenal paintball players and phenomenal people, but they post like one post every 2 months on their Instagram, and it's like, no, like, I know how dope it would be if like ESPN or Sports Center like picked up a clip of pro paintball, because there was just so much content out there of it, where it's like that's not happening. So yeah, that's the kind of like essentially where I wanted to grow to, is like using all that background to help people grow and help people like, how do I get into it? Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm a huge fan of people that do that, and I try to support it as best as possible. I actually picked up a new Proflex from a team that released like a limited edition Proflex, a divisional team. I was like, that's awesome. I got to pick that up.
The Tropic Thunder guys?
Yeah. Can I show it?
Yeah.
Is it okay?
100%,
dude. Proof.
Yeah.
I'm just
Let the homies live.
Dude,
Shout out to Derek Weagle, big sexy, man. He's in the Discord. He's dope.
Let's go, Derek.
So like I said, I seen this and I was like, I got to buy it, right? I have to get it. Also, too, I mean, Tank Dangle, I'm a big supporter of Randall and Tank Dangle. We actually played an MSXL event together, and him and I collabed on some Tank Dangles that I'm going to be giving away for like move of the day on the premiere field. It's
Love
like
that idea.
Yeah, 5 of 5 custom, like they're a custom stone mineral, like custom. You can't literally, it's like a really cool, like hard mineral to get. And it was like, hey, how could we, kind of like spread the culture, right? Because Tank Dangle is just one of those culture things, right? You don't understand it unless you're in the culture. Yeah.
They're amazing. And he's part of the Discord as well. Shout out to the Mole King.
Shout out
to the Mole King. Yeah, so I got 5. So no one's seen these yet except for him and I. And so 5 of 5 custom. It doesn't matter who you are, like semi-pro, WNXL pro. Like you make a move of the day, even if your team doesn't win the event or you're in last place. If you just make a baller move, right, you're gonna get one of these. And it's just a way to like help spread like the culture and help like get everybody excited about the premier field, right? It's smaller obviously than the pro field in the sense of like, we don't have like a golden barrel and that kind of stuff. And the team over there does a great job. Like we do have like a BKI powerhouse regulator that you get for like being a player of the event type deal. So it's stuff like that like we try to do that's really cool and get everybody involved in that. But yeah, I'll be like super stoked to go there and hand this out. But yeah, and it's just growing little things like that, little tiny things like that. The community sees, and next thing you know, it's like I got like 50 followers off of that one story of like Tank Dangle, and everyone's like sharing it around. And so, but yeah,
that's awesome. That's amazing that you guys are giving back like that. And the WNXL and the semi-pro field is popping. There's so much good paintball going on over there. So we're excited you're able to really, commentate all of that and shed light in that area because it's super important for the future of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, that's the goal too, is like bridging that gap between like the male pros and like the female pros too, like getting some shine. Because I'm telling you what, if you all get a chance to come over and watch some of WNXL, they go ham on each other. Like there was one match where there's one of the teams shot a player into the ground, got a gross major. Like they were going, and then like because
you don't even see that on the men's pro field.
I know it was
not anymore.
All the refs were like so confused what to do. They just pulled every player on the field. They were like, we don't like. They're like trying to figure out like, do we pull player cards? Like it was like a crazy thing.
So what happened? Yeah, like what went down?
So it was kind of like
hit us with the teams, dude. Let's tell the stories.
Yeah. So
come on, let's talk paintball, baby.
I can't remember exactly who the other team was. I think it might have been the Diamonds, the Sacramento Diamonds. But
shout out to the Diamonds.
Yeah, Femme Fatales. They were kind of having like a rough tournament, and they came out with passion that game. Like there was girls jumping over that, because if you remember the Sunshine State major, the snake, there was like that little mini W, like the cowboy hat, right? In the 50. There were girls jumping over that thing to like stab girls in the snake. Like it was crazy. So they just came out and they were just putting it on. Like that Saturday, they were putting it on everybody. They didn't care who you were. They were shooting everybody. I mean, and that's Todd, right? That's Todd Adamson at his best. Like he's known for being like a hardcore player, right? So he coaches that team, and they were wrecking everybody on Saturday. And one girl got shot and like kind of like threw the hands up at the, and they just turned and just torched her. So they shot her down. So the refs like red birds of death everywhere, right? Like I think every ref on the field threw a major. So
was it the Femme Fatales players that did the shooting, or were getting shot?
Oh yeah, no, Femme Fatales. Yeah, Femme Fatales player that was doing the shooting. And it was like 3 of them at the center. They were all moving up together, like good form, good everything, like closing the field out. And the one, I think it was, I like I said, I think it was the Sac Diamonds. The one girl just kind of gave attitude real quick, and they just roasted her. So the refs like pulled everybody off the field, and there was one Sac Diamonds player left in the corner. And she actually was able to like hang the flag and win the match. But I think there was like 4 Femme Fatales in the field and 1 Sac Diamond player left. So it was like a 2-on-4. So they just pulled all the Femmes players and then like had like a little ref meeting with like the coaches and everything like that. And then they just were like, all right, line up. The Femmes had to start down 2 bodies.
Sure.
So it was the Wild West over there for a minute. But the rest did a phenomenal job. But it was just like so much chaos in like that second. They were trying to figure out what was happening.
Was the score pretty close on that game, or was?
Yeah, it was. It was like 2-2 or 3-3, something like that. It was like a close one. They were fighting back. So
did Diamonds end up winning the match?
No, Femme Fatales actually won the match.
Oh, they still won the match.
Yeah, Femme Fatales won the match, and then the Femmes went on to play Dallas 5. And then they got beat by Dallas 5, and then the Heroines went on to play Destiny, and Destiny upset the Heroines because the Heroines had previously beat Destiny in the prelims. So when they went into semis, like they went in looking strong all day long, and but the game plan was beautiful. PAX over there, the Destiny team, like they shut down Jen Falk. Like Jen Falk was murdering people in the Snake.
Yeah, Jen's really good. She's a baller.
Yeah, but they essentially put like 2 guns on her off the break, stopped her from going from like at the insert bunker. She could not get into the Snake. So because they stopped that push, and then they pushed the center and the Drio side really hard, they were able to like win. But it was close. It wasn't like it was a blowout. Like it was a close match. I want to say it ended up being like 4-5 or like 3-4, something like that. They were good matches. But yeah. So, but it's stories like that. People, there was a lot of maybe preconceived notions or misperceptions going on when the WNXL. But then after people were there and they watched the matches, they were like, oh crap, like these girls are good. Like, they're playing, they're putting on each other. I mean, the Heroines, for example.
Paintball is paintball. You know what I mean? Everyone's going to get after it. When you get that marker in your hand and you have, your harness on and your mask on, and you're like, all right, this is our group. Let's go get them. And, it's like, it's fun no matter how you slice it. It's just one of the greatest experiences you can give yourself out there, really.
Well, and shout out Brad McCurley. He had the Heroines girls. I think they were training like 6 days, like leading up to the event. They practiced like 6 days in a row, and then I think they took that Thursday off to like watch the field and like everything kind of rest up, and then they played obviously Friday. So, but yeah, I mean they're legit. Like they are trying to be as legit as the male pro division right now, which that's what we need. We need that. We need that.
Absolutely.
Them to get up there and to raise that bar, and because I mean you guys have been around paintball for a long time. You remember Destiny, Fat Lady's Charm, Femme Fatales, like when they were back, like Femme Fatales was in the all yellow, you know what I'm saying? So that was growing, and then obviously as paintball kind of went into a little bit of a recession, all that stuff kind of was stripped away, and now that we're in a positive again, it's like, okay, cool, let's start bringing these stories back. Let's start giving more light to these sorts of things.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, one thing you mentioned there, though, and it's so important, it's that the ladies truly take it seriously, right? And try to treat it as a professional sport, because they are now professionals of the sport. And I do think that many of them have really owned that position. And that's why I'm a fan. That's why I enjoy the games. I've seen some of the matches, and I come over there and I'm like, all right, yeah, these ladies won. They're putting in the work, and they're showcasing their skills out here, and they're balling out. There's definitely some promise there. We need to continue to do a good job we need to do a better job of telling the stories of like how these practices are going for them, who they're practicing, like where's the scouting report for some of these teams. This is all stuff that we should be doing to generate more interest, and generate more excitement about what's going on. And some of the feuds like that Femmes Fatale story, if they play I would love to know for sure if it was the Diamonds or not, right? Because if they match up again, that's a story. That's a story for sure. And like, the Femmes still came out on top and dished out that punishment. So the Diamond's going to respond. Like, you know what I mean? That's part of the story. That's part of the buildup, the excitement, the show,
Yeah. I mean, and to your point on that, like, especially after like, we'll jump into the male pro side real quick, but that last game at the first event between like Dynasty and Latin Saints, how hot that was. Like I was super stoked for the Lone Star just to like see a chance of that rematch, right? It's those storylines that build up that I'm excited to see on the WNXL side. And then even getting into like the semi-pro side too, right? There's so many storylines there, like PB Fit, who was AC Dallas, who got bumped down, who's like trying to murder everybody right now in semi-pro, right? Or like the TMG Outlaw guys who are now Distortion, who is a legendary franchise. You have players like Ronnie Dizon that came from there. You have Rodarte. You have a bunch of like really good players that came from that name. Now the TMG Outlaws guys are taking that name over. So there's so much there from like a historical standpoint too, how to connect like the past with the present, that a lot of players, like especially newer players, they have no idea. They don't know that who Distortion was. They have no idea that was a name. They have no idea about One Night in November, right? That documentary with Aftershock when those guys came in. They don't know that Houston Heat was some of those guys from Distortion that made the original Houston Heat team. Like like Sarge and
If
how
they
they
listen to
came up.
PTG, they know.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I'm just trying to, like I said, connect the past with the present and like let some of those
Yep.
storylines that may have not necessarily died down a little bit, but may not be as relevant anymore. Just try to bring them to light, like, oh, hey, this person's coming from here. And Marcelo, that goes back to what you were saying earlier about like, highlighting the semi-pros. It's like no one knew who Aaron Rodgers was until he was drafted by the Green Bay Packers. No one really knew, outside of like from a fan
that's the thing is
perspective.
people did though. That's the thing. People did follow Aaron Rodgers, and because through college and high school, like people did follow him, paintball, there's no shine on a D3 player. It's rare. I mean, you can come to the combine and maybe get your chance. You can kind of showcase your skills there, but other than that, there's just not much opportunity for divisional players. Where in other sports, there certainly is. You certainly do have fans throughout your entire process. Because I don't know much about Aaron Rodgers and what awards he got or how he did in college. I don't even think I know what college he went to. I don't really follow much college sports, but I know a lot of people do, right?
Yeah.
And I'm certain that a lot of people followed him throughout his career and were watching on draft night. And once he got drafted to the Packers, erupted with joy and were stoked, like that is certainly a thing. Packers fans especially were probably really excited, maybe not actually.
They were
didn't he ride the bench for Favre for a while?
Yeah, they were actually mad that they drafted him because Brett Favre was like still kind of in his prime.
Yeah.
So,
but that's fair. Yeah.
Kind of going back to the point though of like just trying to build a presence for some of these players and a name, because there's also some players that down in semi-pro right now that used to play pro that maybe took a while off. And then all of a sudden they're coming back now, right? We've seen that with a couple different teams that they just like some of the guys from the New Jersey Jesters, right? New Jersey Jesters played in the Champions and Challengers, right? When they were pro. Now,
I don't think they ever played in the Champions part.
They did. No, they just played the Challengers. They unfortunately didn't do very well. But some of those pro guys, after they lost the Challengers and like got bumped back down to like that semi-pro stuff, some of those guys stepped away. Well, some of them are now coming back. So, and there's a very large gap where I think in 2021, the Jesters didn't do very good. And now they're, kind of in like the top upper echelon because those guys are coming back into the organization. They're like, all that knowledge is still there.
Yeah.
So it's great to see that stuff. So it's like, hey, this guy's coming back. Hey, this is a big deal. Hey, like getting that out there. Right. So
totally. And then also I know that in the semi-pro division, Excessive, I believe, is not going to be playing the next event. And furthermore, do you have any news on what happened there?
Yeah, so essentially Excessive semi-pro is done. So like they will not be fielding a team at least for the rest of the year, which is heartbreaking because I know like Junior, over there was like, all into it and everything. And I, realistically, from what I found out about it was kind of like what they released on their social media. I reached out to everybody that was involved and was like, hey, I heard this rumors going on. Because I was hearing that like guys like there was just some dedication issues and they were like struggling to like field a team. Right. So, they played okay at the first event. They come in second event. They have some of the DMG guys with them. So I was like, all right, they're, no problem. So then when all of a sudden I got a message was like, hey, Excessive's done. And I'm like, what? And you guys know Excessive's like another, legendary name, Thomas Taylor, Rich Telfer, Greg Hastings, Matty Marshall, when they made their run. So I reached out and they were like, yeah, life is happening. And that's really what it is too. With the semi-pro, there might be some sponsorship money there and some different stuff. Obviously it's not like the pros as far as some of that stuff goes. So, driving to practice and still paying for paint, still like doing all those things that a lot of divisional guys are doing. And that's pretty much what it came down to. They just don't have the core players that are like at that higher divisional level, just can't dedicate the time because of life or family or work, whatever the case may be. And they don't have enough guys in the feeder system because they have a very good feeder system, right? They just don't have enough guys in the feeder system that could jump up to pro. So they're still going to play divisional. The Excessive name is still going to carry on in that divisional realm, but they're just not going to field a semi-pro team, which is a bummer, right? But again, that's another storyline for guys like me and guys, like you all and gals out there who've been around paintball for a long time. The fact that Excessive's not going to be at a national tournament is like a big deal. I still have a pair of Thomas Taylor Excessive pants from like 2006.
Yeah.
Camoed up, big knees. Shout out Thomas Taylor, the OG.
Yeah, man, I know. And that's one of my favorite groups of paintball players, that semi-pro Excessive squad. I grew up in the Central Valley of Northern California, and a lot of those players are from that area. So I have a huge space in my heart for that team, and definitely going to miss seeing them around at the events all together. Yeah. Hopefully they'll still be playing on different teams. And I know I've talked to several of them, and they are obviously going to still attack paintball and go after their dreams in that regard. But it is definitely a tearjerker a little that that Excessive upper echelon crew is going to be taking a step back with that name. So hopefully we'll see them at some of the events with some other teams rolling around.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so go ahead.
No, I was going to say, even like the little storylines, like for you, Marcel, like was it the Las Vegas team that you coach?
Yeah. Las Vegas Golden Misfits.
Gold Misfits. A lot of those guys are the old LTZ guys, right?
Yep, exactly.
Where you came up with. So
I played with them for a few tournaments, guested with them, but mostly I would go out and practice with those guys, right? It was a lot of my good friends,
I got
coming up through Aftermath. They were, the other group of young players that were kind of stunting on everybody. We were in D3, they were in D2. So I remember like kind of looking up to a lot of the players, and then they went pro in, I think, 06, which was the same year that I turned pro. And then I think 07 or 08, I guess with them in some 7-man tournaments. But yeah, I mean, those guys are amazing and so cool to have them back in the game and be working with them, right? It's just amazing.
Yeah, but see, like there's probably a bunch of people that listen to like paintball in general that have no idea who LTZ was. Right?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So now it's like getting to tell us like that story right there, where it's like, because I heard you talk about it too when one time you were bringing it up, talk about the team, some of your old LTZ friends and whatnot. So I was like, that's awesome, like LTZ, like those guys, I remember them, and now they're the Golden Misfits. I was like, that's awesome. so it's stuff like that I get juiced about, right? And that fans just don't know. We need to like bring them back in. Like, hey, people are coming back. I think, especially like after COVID. I saw so many players coming back into paintball after COVID. And,
yeah, same.
That was just awesome to see.
Why do you think that is?
So if you want to look at it from like a philanthropic standpoint, really, I think it comes down to COVID was so sheltered for a lot of people where like they had to stay inside. They couldn't go. It really made them think about like what things made me happy. Where was I at in my life when I was the happiest? And obviously COVID for a lot of people was really scary. So health-wise and everything else. And it gave people like kind of a kick a little bit like, hey, I need to get in better shape. I need to take care of myself a little more. Well, then it's kind of like boxing in that sense where it's like, once you get that itch, like Mike Tyson said on Joe Rogan, he's like, oh, I can't go back into boxing because once I do, like, I can't cage that beast again. Yeah. And then like 6 months later, he's training for fighting and he's just like, so I think
that's so funny. I remember listening to that podcast and then, it was like 6 months later. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. He's just like,
this escalated fast.
Yeah. He's like juiced to the gills, like just ready to fight again. I think paintball was, no one ever truly leaves paintball. Right. And I think that's the thing is people may leave and then come back with their kids or do something. Right. And like get their kids in a tournament paintball and that kind of stuff. So I think that had a lot to do with it, where people were just realizing like, I can do this again. Like it makes me happy. And they go out there and they just like joke around like, I'm just going to play one time. That's what I told my wife when I got back into paintball. I was like, I'm just going to go out and play like recreationally with some of my friends. And then someone, what was it was like a Geo 4 or Geo 3 or something. Someone put a Geo in my hand and I like went out and like just balled out on a speedball field. It was like, yep, doing this tomorrow. So like I went and just bought like $3,000 worth of stuff immediately. Just got suited and booted and right back into playing competitively again. But that was after a lot of trials and tribulations with my back and like my health and the different things I had to go through. I've had some pretty bad injuries. Marcel, I know you were talking about it with like the knees over toes guy, which I'm a huge fan of.
There we
and
go.
just working through injuries and that kind of stuff. So,
well, we're glad you're doing better and out there having fun playing, man. That's awesome.
yeah, I broke my back and like,
What?
yeah,
Oh man.
so I had to have like full, like major surgery, the whole 9 yards, like 30 weeks of physical
Jeez.
therapy, like all this stuff. And, I like the joke around my friend group and like some of the infamous guys. Cause like Cody Mikowski, like pretty well. He was awesome. He let me like guest with their infamous team. But like
You
I
have
had
his
back.
jersey right
Yeah, he
here.
has jersey in the back. It's right.
Yeah.
I also have Kurzawa's as well. A big John Kurzawa fan
There we
as
go.
well. So, but yeah, I had full back surgery, everything in March of 2021, physical therapy, learned to walk again. And then I played Chicago in 2021.
No way.
Yeah.
Whoa. Dude.
So,
Nice.
That's amazing. Wow. Well, how did you do that? Like how did you pull that feat off? What did it take? I'm sure it was tremendous amounts of determination and willpower and fighting. What was that experience like, man?
yeah. So kind of going back into the paintball community a little bit. After everything, it was like just like heartbreaking because, like, kind of long story short, I had made the original Plum Life team, Damian Ryan's team, when
Yeah.
he was on Infamous. So like Damian and Callie and Bobby, and like they were all like kind of bringing up this team. So I
The
made that
Plums.
the
Plum
Plums,
Life.
yeah. I made that original team, and on the way home, I got into a car accident. I was rear-ended and broke my back, like really messed me up. And through the process, the doctor was like, "Hey, we can fix this. We could fuse your spine. If and I don't know if you think like fusions, right? You just lose so much." And I was young. I was like 25. I was like, "No, I don't want that." So
Damn.
I finally like went through like physical therapy and a bunch of different stuff to like try to, because I'm young. Doctors don't like to cut on you when you're young, not unless they absolutely have to, right? That's the thing. They want your body, especially if you're healthy, they want your body to try to heal. So 6 years of like all of that. Finally, they had like surgery where it wasn't as invasive. They could like do rejuvenation to your spine and like different stuff, nerve ablation, whole 9 yards. So through that I was literally in the hospital, and my wife looked at me. She was like, "You're going to try to play paintball again, aren't you?" I was like,
Got it.
sure I am. So, and this is where I kind of go back into paintball community. Greg Sewers from Map Training.
He's the best.
He is the entire reason why I was able to play paintball again. And just he set up a whole program for me about like how to get back mobility, how to like hips, everything that goes into that. Just right into, he literally got me from barely walking to full on running again and sprinting and diving in the whole 9 yards. And kind of because of that connection, and like my just straight dedication to play paintball again. Cody Mikowski, another obviously former infamous or current infamous player, former teammate of Greg's. He was like, "Hey, if you want a shot, like I'll give it to you." So I drove 8 hours one way from Kansas City to Wisconsin every weekend to practice and train with Cody and the Wisconsin Infamous organization. And I played Chicago, and it was great. It was like the best. I proved to myself that I could do it, and that's really all I wanted. I'm 32. The chances of me going pro are slim to none, right? So, but I just wanted to do it for me. I wanted to prove, especially being a dad, Tyler, as you know, like prove to my kids, like, don't let anything ever stop you. So,
dude, I love that. And we got to give a shout out to Greg Sewers. If you need personal training, trainwithmap.com. Head over there, show Greg some love. Hit him up on Instagram. I'm sure he's always available there. But Greg is just a tremendous guy, and man, that story is wild, man. I'm so glad that you made it through that and that you're back out playing paintball again, because that definitely was a lot of work. And man, I just can't believe that that happened to you, bro. I'm so sorry, and glad that you're okay now, dude.
Yeah, don't be sorry, but my wife is happy because now she gives me a lot more stuff to do. so, but yeah, I was very fortunate, got through it and everything. And then I get a chance to do like, Let's Talk Paintball. Cause my thing was like, I looked up to you guys and everything that you're doing, and like, especially like growing the paintball scene. So, I was like, Marcelo, I was actually at an event, and I you walked by me and I wanted to say hi, and I was like so starstruck. I like stood there frozen. I was like, Marcelo Margot just walked by me. Like, I don't know what to do right now. I was like, I don't know
Dude,
what
you
to do
should
with
have
my
said
hands.
hi. You got to
I
say
know.
hi. What
I
the
know.
hell?
I did it the last event though.
I would have been starstruck again.
Yeah.
Let's talk paintball. You're the guy. You're the guy. Yeah.
I don't feel like the guy. I just feel like a dad that likes to talk about paintball, and because I've been around it for so long, I just can connect the dots on a lot of things.
Dude, I can't stress this enough. I forgot if we talked about this before we started recording or not, but in my eyes, I know Tyler feels the same way. We're just paintball players. That's the whole point of like this show. We play paintball. Look, we're not out here curing cancer. We're not, heart doctors. We're paintball. We're not teachers. We're paintball players, And at the end of the day, we all have gone through similar sacrifices. Some of us, maybe I put in some more time and dedicated a little more of myself to this. Sure, but it's a game. We play a damn game. So we love when we get to mingle with the community because we are the community. Like I can't stress it enough. Paintball is, when I see pros that have this attitude that they're too good to, stop and talk to somebody. I mean, it's crazy to me. I just can't understand it. Like, listen, dude, not that many people are asking for your autograph. You have time to stop and talk to your paintball fan. Our sport is too small for that kind of arrogance. Even if you're a professional basketball player, I understand a little bit because they do kind of have to manage their time. Like I've always said, I would hate to be a movie star or someone to where you can't go out in public and you have that kind of fame where everybody wants your attention. Then I kind of understand that, like, you put your glasses on and you try to avoid scenarios. We're not even close to that. We play paintball, period. Right. So we're all the same here, dude. And everybody has such an important part in making this game grow and bringing this thing to the next level. So if anyone's listening, if you have any of that, like, reservations for saying hi to any one of the three of us on this show right now, please come say hi. Please.
You better say hi.
We want to talk to you. We want to say what's up. We want to talk to you. I will say this. There are some times that the timing's not great because I'm so competitive. And there's been times where, like, right after a loss or I had a bad game or something, and like I get the wrong question, I'm like, oh man, you're testing my patience right now. It's a different story, but that's just because I'm competitive. I could lose a tic-tac-toe game to Tyler, and if someone asks me something, I'm just gonna be like, what do you want right now? I got to figure out how to not make that mistake in tic-tac-toe again. No,
straight
other
up.
than that, man, we are all paintball players, period.
Yes, sir. That's the best part about the community is being able
Totally.
to mix and mingle and have fun and just share love. That's what this is all about. This game is not that serious. Like, I had a conversation with my dad. We were talking about that. Like, if imagine paintball being as big as Major League Baseball or football or, soccer or whatever, you name it, basketball. And I was like, that would be so crazy. I don't know if I would like that. Like, I don't know if how much I would enjoy that. It made me think how appreciative I am the way paintball is, and like I can play paintball and then go to the restaurant with my kids and like go out with my fam and be in complete peace.
It's like living two lives. It's so funny. You definitely have like two lives. You step into the paintball world and there's a little bit of fame, if you want to call it that. But in the real world, no one gives a shit. You tell people you play paintball, they go, that's a thing? Ping pong? You paint?
Exactly.
Do you know you're an artist? What are you talking about?
Do you know how many times like I had to explain? So there's currently right now, not right now, but like this week of a work conference going on, and I have to leave on Wednesday. I have to leave from work to the airport to fly out to Philly, and I have to like cut one of the meetings short because I'm flying out. And they're like, "You're flying out for what again?" And I was like, "I'm commentating paintball," and they're like, "That's a thing?" And I'm like, "Yes, that's a thing." Like, and I like pull it up on like Instagram and like Facebook, and I show them like it's a whole thing, and and again, kind of going back to like bridging both gaps for one of my clients, like I said, very large social media. I was like going through the algorithm with him. I've seen the like back end of this platform's algorithm. Like, why is this coded this way? Why can't we do this? Like, this is no different than if someone got a really hard hit in football or someone, like, it's just as violent, it's just as whatever, right? It's so I'm trying to get them to justify it, and they're like, listen, man, we can't, there's triggers on these things, okay? And I'm like, so it's like, does it, like, that can't be the reason, right? So But yeah, I mean, another reason too is looking back at like you guys. You might think you're just paintball players in some aspect, but like there's 12-year-olds out there that you're their Michael Jordan, right? And that's the other side of this too. It's like there is that they look up to you and they want to be you, and it's a tangible, real thing. And that's when you look at like the divisional, the reason I wanted to like kind of spread the divisional storylines is like they're kind of like college football. They're all fighting to become a pro, right? You guys are fighting to be the best pros in the world. They're fighting to join that club to have that chance. So that's why those storylines are so like amazing, because it's like there's these like Texas Cyclones, shout out Texas Cyclones. They have like they are a professional organization as it comes, right? They're trying to do everything they possibly can. Now their goal is to become a pro team in 3 years. I think that's like, hey, good on them, right? That's a good goal to set, but
go get it. Let's go, guys.
But it's just like they have a great storyline, and they're a Division 3 team, but they came up from Division 5 where they smacked everybody. So it's like giving them shout outs and highlighting those guys and like, what's going on there. And
hold on. So is there a 3-year plan from now or from when they started?
So I'm pretty sure it was from when they started. Like,
okay, so they had a year in D5, jumped to D3, and then they want to go from D3 to pro.
Hey, that's the goal, man. That's what they want to do.
What's the name of the team again? I got to keep an eye on these fools.
Texas Cyclones.
Texas Cyclones. All right.
I believe.
They won Dallas.
I think they did. Yeah, they
won Dallas. Yeah,
they had Smotrov. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at this like in the last couple of weeks, but I believe Smotrov from Russians from Red Legion there, he was like full bore coaching the team the whole 9 yards, like to get them. And those kids are good. Like they're they're
that's
definitely
awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So I'd be on the look out for them.
All right.
And then speaking of Lone Star minors, so another team kind of up on the rise that I try to spread their story is the Missouri All-Stars, right? Division 2. Mm-hmm. They have a fantastic story. They've picked up Damian Ryan recently to help coach them and mentor them, not coach, but like play with them. He's like helping mentor them and like what they need to be ready for when they make that next bump, right? They picked up Trey Goodwin from Mutiny, right? They picked him up. And it's the same. Those guys are like the same core group of like 5 or 6 kids that all grew up together. Like they've been playing paintball for the last 6 years together. And you all know, growing up like in that community, you know how hard it is to get 6 or 7 kids to stay together like that long. And their coach Grant Piani, like divisional coach of the event at Lone Star, right? He's the guy that wears the suit on Sunday.
Yeah.
So again, there's all these amazing storylines going on in divisional, and I, as you can see, like I'm very passionate about it. I want to spread these word.
They have a great crew. They have such a great crew. Yeah,
dude. And I'll tell you what, Marcelo, you want to talk about someone competitive like Todd Boyer? Same exact.
Oh yeah,
he juiced like 30 minutes before a match. Like he is all in. He's like Tyler's big eyes, like ready to go. Like he's just he's ready for war out there. So
and that's honestly, that is the mindset. I mean, if you want to be a champion, you have to play like a champion. It is legitimately a all-out brawl when you get on that paintball field, when you're playing in the finals of any division, and you got to really come correct with the mentality and making sure that everybody's dialed in and ready to go. Todd has been kicking butt, man. I love seeing that guy running around the paintball field. Great energy. Just great for paintball, just having fun, great social media presence, doing everything he can to spread the love of paintball. And he's enjoying every step of the way, which is what you want to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Legend. Yeah. So Vince, what do you think about the pro landscape right now? How do you feel about the teams, Damage winning the last event? Who do you think are some favorites? What are your picks for this coming up event? What are you feeling? What do you got? Give us some juice.
So yeah, I mean, I never pick the winner. I always pick who I think is going to be top 4, because the pro landscape, for the most part, I would say the last and please, like, tell me if I'm wrong on this, but from a fan's perspective, over the last like 6 or 7 years, the top 10 teams there's such a leap in like just organization, talent, that kind of stuff from the bottom 10 teams that everyone kind of knew every year, like either Dynasty was going to win, Impact was going to win, Heat was going to win. Like it was just kind of like this revolving door. And the storylines there were not who's going to win the event, but like who's actually going to get better and do good and kind of get into who's going to make Sunday. Recently, I would say probably in the last like 2 years or so, those bottom tier teams, most of them are getting better, like significantly better. Look at Columbus level, right? As an example, ML Kings. I mean, a lot of these players that essentially have spent the time and the effort, have a good, some organization. A lot of these guys working every day, regular jobs, and then coming home and snap shooting 2 cases of paint, in their backyards, right? Just doing little stuff or running drills on a Thursday. So that gap's shrunk. So now it's a lot more exciting because it's like, we'll use Dynasty as the example. Dynasty makes it to Sunday and they have to face ML Kings. Like that's not before that used to be like, oh yeah, Dynasty's moving on. Now it's like, oh, they got a game now. Or like, Houston Heat facing like a Columbus level, right? They got a game now. Like that's a match, it's exciting.
Yeah.
And is the chaos, the absolute off-season chaos of everything, and now the mid-season chaos going on. I think, so I kind of split this into 2 thoughts. I think all the moves are great because it like gives so much news and so much action, but I also think it's kind of bad too because it's just like there's no stability, right, in the rosters. On the flip side, though, of that is I personally think that the pro division is getting older, and it's getting. We don't see the days anymore of like 16-year-old pros or 17-year-old pros, right? Like Marcelo, how old were you when you went pro?
15.
Tyler, how old were you when you went pro?
14.
When's the last time in the last 5 years you've had a 15-year-old pro? Right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that now is because of that, you have teams that their average age used to be 22, 25, right? Now you have a lot of pro teams, their average age is 35, 39, right? And I think, I can't remember who, and please, if you know who this was, please let me know. But someone said, come take it, right? There's a pro out there. And I know, so Mike Hinman, like Hinge, he's like the harshest critic on like this kind of stuff. But he's like, there's not a single semi-pro team out there that he's scared of at all. Like he's like the best semi-pro team got relegated last year, like from pro. So, and that's not to be hypercritical of semi-pro, but I think what's going to happen is paintball is going to pigeonhole themselves. And like in the next 5 years, we're going to see a mass exodus of pro players because they have families, they're getting older. Like they're maybe their bodies just can't do what their minds know they should. And I think Dynasty has done a phenomenal job personally of like bringing in Urena, bringing in Arturo, bringing in young blood, right? Like bringing in Damian Vasquez, right? Phenomenal pickup. He's someone that you can cultivate so that way, and not that I want them to retire anytime soon, but someone like a Ryan or a Yosh or an Alex, if they retire, well, you have Damian that can fill that gap because he's been with you guys for 3 years, 2 years, whatever the case may be. So where there's a lot of teams not doing that. And sometimes I come off maybe a little hypercritical on stuff. Like I was a little critical on Damage at the beginning of the year because I was like, their organization's old. Like Holiday, like who's absolute baller. They're, don't get me wrong, killers, some of the best in the game. But it's like if they don't start bringing in young blood, how is Keith Brown and Jacob going to do this by themselves, right? So. And then they bring in Waring. They brought in Silos. They bring in Jared Lackey. So it's like, oh, look at this. Like, there's your young line that's going to keep the franchise going. So I think the current state of pros is getting older and not in a good way. And I think teams need to start bringing in a lot of youngsters just to kind of, even if they're not ready. Or I brought up this idea. Remember back in the day where they're like Excessive had NRG as a semi-pro team. Dynasty, I believe, had like Dynasty Dynamics, I think is what it was, right? There were several pro teams that had semi-pro feeder teams that were like, it just trained them and got them ready, right? It got them ready for pro. It got them ready at that competitive level. So that way, when they made that jump from semi-pro to pro, it wasn't like a crazy, like they don't know what they're doing, right? Where Now I think that's going to start coming back around. I think we're going to start seeing that more and more, where they're going to start cherry picking different divisional players, kind of like how you did on like New York Wrecking Crew, right? You cherry picked players for that team. I think in the next 2 years, we're going to see pros start doing that with like the best regional players, making a semi-pro team and really gut checking them. Are you ready for the next level? Right. Because everyone can be practice champions. Everyone can be practice, but then you step on the field and you get smacked because it's like, oh, why'd you get smacked? Oh, because you were cheating all practice, so,
that's a big one.
Yeah. Oh man. I see it in some of the videos and I'm like, clear hit, right? You hear it. Everyone knows the sound of a ping off of an air tank or off the mask. Like, that sound. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that, like, going back to Grant Piani, he at practice, he's like, if at practice you get hit, we have certain days like Saturday we're running like drills like that. You get hit, get out, because tournament paint is going to break. Right. On Sunday, if you get hit, check yourself, but like don't make it overly noticeable that the ref's gonna like bird dog you because he's seen you check yourself, right? Everyone knows everyone knows that drill. Where it's
Hold on, what are you saying? So don't check yourself so you could play on? Is that what you're alluding to here?
No. Vince? What I'm saying is like check yourself, but do it in a way where it's like
if the ref doesn't notice you're checking yourself. So
the ref doesn't realize
it off.
Maybe.
Wow. We don't condone this behavior here at PTG. If you think you're hit, check your hit and make sure it didn't break.
Listen,
out. Even though Tyler's wearing a shirt right now that says "Play on, player."
You know how many times I use that on the and again, I want to say this. I want to make this very clear to everybody. The refs do a phenomenal job. They're trying their absolute best, and I cannot say enough good things about the reffing crew on the Premier Field at the last event. They were in Florida. They were phenomenal, right? That being said, there's a limited number of them, and there's more players, and their eyeballs can't be everywhere. They're looking for the shots they know are going to happen. They're looking for those guys at the back gate. They're going to get lane. They're looking for the diving into the snake, right? They're looking for those things. They might not notice a bounce shot where a guy gets shot on the inside of his arm and then he just slowly closes that arm, right? So, and if I catch it or like barrel hits, right? I'm like, hey, play on, player. Like, I call that stuff out on the Premier Field. I'm like, hey, there was an instance, and I'll go back to my previous point here, but just there was an instance where there was a clear hit, like the ref was checking somebody else and someone had shot this guy in his barrel, and the fattest barrel hit I've ever seen in my life, and he was just murdering everybody in the snake. And I was like, good for you, dog, with the fattest barrel hit I've ever seen in my life. Like, and the ref finally came over and looked. Yeah, play on, player. So, but not to get too far off it, but then kind of like the next event, top 4, there's been so many roster shakeups and so many things happening. For me, I think that it's not as, like I said, with all the competitiveness and how good the teams are, I don't think it's as far away as it used to be. I would like to see ML Kings in the top 4. I think they're kind of in for it. Like they're finally getting up there. I think it would kind of like if I had to have a dark horse, it would probably be the ML Kings, right? I'll steal Maddie and Rich's. I'll say ML Kings. And then I really think with the stability that NRG has now, I think NRG is going to make Sunday. I don't necessarily know if they make top 4, but I think bringing on a big gun like John Kurzawa, who has an amazing
bracket at this next one.
They do have a tough bracket. That's the hard part. I would like to see them make Sunday, but top 4, I'm going to say, and I'm not just saying this because you're both on here. I'm saying this because I know the depth of your rosters and your winning pedigrees, right? I'm going to say Heat, Dynasty. You can't not say Impact.
Well, you picked Heat to win the event before when you didn't think I was sitting here. We had a hot mic. I heard what you were saying.
I said Heat should win the next event because they're due for it, because they won. I believe they won last year. It doesn't work like that.
You're not just owed because you're due for a win. It don't work like that. What the hell we got over here?
Yeah, they're gonna rework their MAO magic. I think they're gonna bring it back and win the event again. I think this field, that specifically the Philly one, I think it's gonna do a lot of good for someone like Chad George or like Ryan Moorhead, who's been really sneaky. And then I think I think is going to do really good in this center. Like I look at players and how they've played, but then Dynasty, like I said, you guys getting Spica back, and then you have the depth. Like Urina's playing really good, Arturo's playing good. Like it's starting to get to the point where like every team's bench is like a starting five. Like it's really good. And at this point, I think Impact, you have to put Impact in the top four, and then Infamous, right? Infamous is bringing up Youngblood. Infamous just picked up Matt Rao from Journey to Pro. He came from like the violence camp. And then he went to PB Fit. He was in that whole camp, and then he's been training under Aaron Tholey. Who shout out Aaron Tholey, old school pro. Shout out Vintage.
Aaron's the man. Yep.
And then he's come up under him, and then Cody Mikowski. He spent a significant amount of time with Cody Mikowski. And Jonah, you guys know Jonah, obviously now Jonah Jamros.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jonah essentially kind of did the same thing. So kind of going back into bringing up players and getting them pro ready. Infamous is doing a really good job at that.
Cody does a great job in his region, which out in Wisconsin, that's where Jonah. I'm pretty sure Jonah is from Wisconsin, maybe a neighboring state. But I met Jonah when he was like a D3 or D4 player. He came out to one of my clinics probably 4 or 5 years ago at Outdoor Adventure. Shout out to Outdoor Adventure out there in Appleton. And he was just raw talent. I was like, this kid is going to be so good. Came out there with his dad. Shout out to his pops. They're a team. You always see them together at events.
Best cookies in the game.
Yeah, 100%. Steve is the man. And, the kid just has a ton of raw talent. So to see Infamous, they are doing that. They're doing a good job of investing in their future, both on and off the field, right? Which is how professional teams should. They've created a ton of value within their organization just by being involved in the community, being creative, building an actual brand that's sustainable. That gives them the ability to pay players and build a culture there and, have a future. So they're doing it the right way for sure.
Yeah. And so kind of to your point there with all that, they're definitely creating and being involved with that system just the short amount of time that I was, like, they're very good. Like, he has this thing called The Drill, and it is the most miserable experience of your life. What he does, he has you go out at the very start of practice and you snap shoot like at each other. And if you get hit, it doesn't matter. Like, if you get hit, go back in, wipe the hit off, come back out. And you'll come out of the drill with more welts on you than you will playing the entire weekend. But it's like, it teaches you a couple. He goes through and he critiques you and like how you have to do it and like how you're supposed to snap shoot and why these little things matter. And if it's like, if I can see your shadow, I know where you're to come out at. If I can see your elbow, like, I know where to shoot. He torched me, like absolutely destroyed me. So I'm off of recovery, all this back surgery, everything. He has me come out to Wisconsin. And he has me gear up. And the first thing he does is like, all right, we're going to snap shoot. The very first thing, I think he was like trying to break me. Like, I think he was like, there's no way. And he absolutely annihilated me. Like, all hopper hits, forehead, like all little stuff, just like breaking, bad habits and like kind of getting the rust off a little bit. But they do a really good job.
I will say, I'm going to put this public out there. Everything is earned on that paintball field, right? Every step of the way is earned out there. And paintball, I just love where paintball's at right now. Paintball is in such a good space. Even though we're not as big as these other sports, there's so much buzz around it and so much fun being had that it's just absolutely perfect. And everybody that we get to share it with is like a brand new person that their eyes get super big when they see a cool move or a cool moment in paintball. They're like, whoa, I didn't even know this existed. So it's really fun to be able to share that with so many people from around the world. And the youngsters out there, I see y'all coming. There are a lot of young paintball players that are making a push to give us a run for those pro titles. We see you out there, and we want you to keep working really hard. And we challenge you, we challenge you to really push it to the limits and see if you can take it there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And shout out to Trent Nita, 18 years old from the Hurricanes, just got picked up by the LA Ironmen along with Keith DeVitt and
there
Kyle,
we go.
I think his name's Kyle, the other Hurricane player.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so.
But
and I called
Trent,
that. Oh.
Yeah. Did you? That was. Yeah. I mean, it was a great pickup for the Ironman, right? It was. So that's so funny. I remember back, at the start of the season, I said the same thing. I'm like, why doesn't the Ironman pick up Keith and some of these young guys? Keith already played for them in the past. It just made sense.
Exactly.
I honestly think that it was probably more Keith wanting to stay loyal to the Hurricanes. Keith is just that type of person. He's a super loyal individual.
Absolutely.
I know he believed in that group and wanted to help build that team. And he's not afraid of the work. So I think that probably had more to do with it than the Ironman not making the offer. Again, I don't know. I'm just speculating, but yeah, Keith is the man, and so is Trent. And apparently that dude Kyle is one of the best players from
baller.
the Hurricanes. Yeah. So I don't know much about him, but apparently he's one of the better players. So that's gonna give the Ironman a big boost for sure. And Trent, I think that kid, he has a ton of potential. He's got a lot to learn for sure, but he's got a ton of potential. So to see him, finally get his chance here, I'm excited to watch.
Yeah, and then when that whole thing, when like that separation of the Hurricanes and P-Mob thing happened, I was like, whoa, like what is going on? Because I there's so many good players in the Hurricanes. I think they had Jonathan Jarula on there as well. They had Blake Rice, who's an absolute monster. They had a good group, and they were really pushing they had a heartbreaker loss they didn't end up moving on. But I really thought that okay, this is probably this year or next year is going to be the year where they get their pro spot, right?
Yeah.
Because of how well they were playing, you could definitely tell the difference between how they played together as a team versus some other semi-pro teams. And I was like, they're playing very similar to how a pro team plays together, moving and communicating and closing things out in situation. There was just different things. And so I was bummed. And then to find out that P-Mob, Preferred Mob, is coming back and has some of those players, and that whole thing was nuts when it went down.
They did pick up Thomas Mantoni, right?
They did. Yep, they picked up Thomas Mantoni.
It's a big hit to Revo.
Yeah,
Revo's just getting beat up.
But Revo got Geiger from NRG, right? Arguably one of NRG's best players. So yeah, there was a bunch of moves going on. Salcedo moved from X Factor to Infamous, the last event. Yep. And then they get Geiger on Revo, and then they get John Krasawa on NRG. There's been a bunch of strategic moves kind of happening to bolster up one side. Obviously, Revo needed more of that attack experience. They pick up Geiger for that. NRG, I think, needed a stronger presence in the two, really that strong gun position that can go anywhere like a Krasawa can. So there's been a lot of mid-season strategic moves. I was most surprised about Hoeg, depending on how you say his name. He played the first event with Blast Camp, played the Lone Star with Revo, which was he was practicing with Revo in the offseason and actually had an offer from Revo in the offseason. And he was like, no, I'm going to stick with my boys on Blast Camp. And I don't know what transpired in the background there, but then boom, he gets picked up to play Snake for, and he balled out for Revo at Lone Star, did really good. And I think Hinge was like, all right, this young kid's proven himself. I'm going to go ahead and bring him over to Aftermath. So now Hoeg's left Revo. He's now on Aftermath.
Yeah, Zach's a stud. Zach came down and played in Mexico with me last year, and Skinny Kevin was down there, and this was right before Chicago.
Yeah.
No, it was right before World Cup. Right before World Cup, and Skinny Kevin wanted him on Dynasty. We saw the potential, but he wanted to stay and, ride it out with his boys. Totally respect that. Blast Camp is a great organization doing I think they're probably going to earn the pro spot. They're going to be in there eventually, right? One way or another, that's their goal. They have the infrastructure, they have the support, they have the talent. So when I saw the move for him to go to Revo, I was kind of surprised too. And then he did ball out. And then I hear the Aftermath news and I'm like, this makes sense. This makes sense for that type of player because his attitude, Zach is I don't know him too well, but I got to know him a little bit. And what I gather of him is he's just a hard worker, right? He's got a ton of talent. He hasn't played a super long time. It's not like he's had a ton of direction in how to play paintball, like how to, really dissect the game and at the high level. He just has all the raw talent. He's an athlete, played football, and he's got that mindset that Mike looks for. right? And so I think he's going to do really well. We got to practice them weekend 1 on the layout, and he was playing really well. He played the snake well. Again, he makes some mistakes. It's just like theoretical mistakes of how to, play certain situations, but he's going to learn all that from Mike. So if he just does a good job of absorbing and really being a sponge in that system, I think it's going to be a great move for him. And, you could make the argument that was really like Aftermath's weakness is their snake side. They haven't quite found who is going to be their go-to guy in the snake. Sometimes they put Frank over there, but he's really a Dorito guy, but he'll do it in the snake. So he can attack on both sides. And, they've just kind of been, Thomas Kim is a Dorito guy. They haven't really had their go-to snake player. So hopefully Zach can step in and be that.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be good for him, just from exposure perspective, but it'd also be good at getting Aftermath over that hump to be in that Final Four, be in that finals where, when they came back on the scene, I think they took a third, right, at the first event they played, and then it was just kind of down from there, and then they're on the up and up now, which is good, but yeah, someone in the snake that for some reason it shocks me every time I see Tyler in the snake. Every time I see video footage, I'm like, you're 7'11". What are you doing in this? Get out of the snake. That's where Ronnie and Chad need to be. Somehow you do
Mouse.
it.
Look at Mouse.
Yeah. I remember Mouse when he was literally swimming in an extra small jersey. I remember when he was just when he was. And then to see him all yoked up, I was like, golly. And he's an animal. He gets in there, though. But
well, that's the thing about Mouse and my body styles. They're a little bit bigger, but we can also cover a bigger surface area of a bunker. Going from different portions of the bunker a little bit quicker just because of the amount of area that we could cover. I don't know really how to describe it, but there is something to that. And we've both, Mouse and I have both been playing everywhere on every paintball field since we were just kids. So just throw, same with Marshy. If you throw us anywhere on a paintball field, the job's, it's going to get done. We're going to go down the field.
Yeah.
The most important thing is the awareness, the connection, making sure you have good information and making good decisions, because essentially that's what it comes down to. That's what the top paintball players are just making really good, educated decisions out there and able to, come out with big W's when you are all working with that kind of a frequency, all working together that way.
Totally.
And that's such the evolution of paintball too, because as you guys know, 15 years ago, you were a snake guy, you were a Dorito guy, you were a back guy, right? And now it's you have to play every position or know how to play it in such a high level, educated manner where it's if Marcelo, I know you in the past you've had some knee problems and the knees over toe stuff has helped you out a lot. If Skinny Kevin came to you and was Marsh, you're playing the snake, you'd be dope. You would do it, and how to do it because you're such a high level, high IQ player that it's it doesn't matter. You can get in there.
I mean, I did it in Orlando.
That's what I'm saying.
It's easy.
Yeah,
it's all paintball, dude.
I think that's the one thing where a lot of kids, they get so oh well, I'm gonna be a back guy, and I'm gonna It's starting to kind of come around. It's no. So going back to Cody Mikowski, Cody was what do you want to do when you're playing? Obviously, and I told him, I was I'm older, I'm beat up, I can't be diving into the snake. He was wrong mindset, and I'm what do you mean? He's if you're a back guy, if you're a 3, all the 3 means is you're a third guy in the snake. That's all that means. And I just was never thought about it like that, because I'm oh, I'm not the snake guy anymore. That's the young kids. And he was wrong. And so then one whole practice, he was Vince, you're the one in the snake. And I was God. But I did it. Hey, I got down and did it. And it was the best experience though, because it kind of it proved that I could do it. It was didn't have any hesitation there doing it. So I think a lot of stuff that, especially you guys focus on the BKI stuff and the clinics, is playing every position, not just the getting up and knowing the drills and playing all the spots. So I love seeing that.
Yeah.
We got
I
summer
foresaw
camp
all the
coming up.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Summer camp's great.
Shout out
July.
summer camp.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yep,
Shout out.
BKI.
I foresaw the kids on New York Wrecking Crew to play all over the place. It's so crucial for their growth. You get them young and you can really teach them about the game in its entirety. So, depending on what position they decide to kind of fall into, playing everywhere will give them a better understanding of how to play their position at the highest level. It's like when Mouse came into the league, he was a Dorito player. He played on the Dorito side, and now he's known as one of the best snake players in the world. When I came into the league, growing up with Aftermath, I was like the 2 on the snake side. Sometimes the 1 over there, I played the snake side mostly. Then on the Iron Man, I was the 1 on the Dorito side. That's what they needed. We had B Short over on the snake side. Didn't need anybody else over there, so I was on the Dorito side. Then with Infamous, played on the snake side. And that Tyler, same thing. I think Bob sent you straight to the X
everywhere.
straight to the center 50 or straight into the snake.
That's right.
And then Tyler became a dominant Dorito player. We've all played all over the place from a young age, right? And so now you'll see us like with our teams, because at the pro level, sometimes you do get highly specialized, but the top level pros can play anywhere. Period.
Yeah.
They were taught to play it everywhere. And that's why they understand their position so well, because they know what their opponents are trying to do from other positions.
Totally.
So it's so crucial. And so again, like any of the young kids that I work with, really anyone I work with, but especially the young kids that are, they don't have the bad habits yet. You teach them to play everywhere, and you show them and force them to get into all the spots that they don't want to get into, that they're uncomfortable in, because then they're going to have a better understanding of how to play the game, in its entirety.
Yeah,
totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got to be well-rounded out there.
Yeah.
And we also have the Discord. Should we hop into some questions, Marsh?
Yeah, sure. I do real quick before we hop into the Discord for some questions. I want to ask 2 questions, and one is, we'll go one at a time. One, who is the spotlight on for the WNXL? What team and what player should people be watching at the next event?
So I would say the spotlight team for sure would have to either like it's
not either. You're
again,
choosing one.
Storylines, right? It's tough. I would say Dallas Vibe if they could repeat, and I'll say Vang always. I mean, she was just Brittany Vang. She was stunt on the snake side. She was all the other really good female snake players. She was stopping like every time, and just the way she would get into the snake, and obviously like she's as tall as the snake bunkers, so she can stand up and wheel and deal. Where a lot of players can't do that. They have their crouch down. They have to be like tucked in, that kind of stuff. So I just think she has such an advantage, and she actually got hurt at the end of Florida. She had a bad fall. Rye Guy Media, shout out Rye Guy, carried her off the field. So she in that she just went to run down the field, didn't realize someone was in the snake. She stopped the wrong way and just collapsed. So
no
on her
way.
ankle. So
oh man.
So I think she's gonna have kind of a little bit of a comeback as well, and really so I think that's a Dallas Vibe and Brittany Vang.
All right, well, Brittany, we're sending all the good energy your way. Hopefully you're doing well and recovering well from that. And I just saw Rye Guy actually this weekend, Rye Guy Media out on the East Coast. We're practicing against New York Extreme, and we also had the Latin Saints out there. So we're taking a look at the newly formed Latin Saints. And I got to shout out the Montresor Marauders. They were out there, the young crew of ballers. And Houston Heat actually ran a fun point against them, and we were throwing them in a little bit to let them have some fun, and it was a really good weekend out there.
What's the second question?
Second question is same question, but for the semi-pro division.
Ooh, semi-pro. I think it's so disclaimer. I love all these teams, their stories, but I will say Chicago Distortion. And the player to watch is Fred Berkeley is back with the TMG squad.
All right.
So he's taking some time off. I think he's going to come back reinvigorated, re-energized for the love of the game.
Yeah.
I think how TMG ended was a very sour point for a lot of those guys, especially Fred, who had been ride or die with that squad since day one. So I think now that he's coming back in, I think that's the team to watch out for at this next event.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Fred
Love
Berkeley's back.
Let's go, Fred.
He was a stud on the Outlaws. All right.
Dude, he was.
Last guy alive every point.
Straight up. Good
He's
gunfighter.
a good paintball player. Yeah.
All right, Ty. So let's hop into the Discord. You got a question?
Yep, we got the PTG World Discord
Boom.
chat here. We got Papa Sosh. Shout out to Texas. He says, Vince, can we talk about the epic victory of the Dum Dums over the Smart Smarts this past weekend and what that means for the Dum Dums going into Philly?
Dude, shirts versus skins. When I seen that, I was like, no way this is happening, right? So so the win, the Dum Dums win, right? I think I think if they're extra juiced, they're extra gassed up going in because they can beat top level pros with no jerseys on. Just imagine they actually have padding, right?
Yeah. So do you guys know who they beat?
I'm not sure. I thought they were playing against other Dynasty guys.
Okay, yeah. It was me, Ryan, Archie, Alex, and Kyle.
And they beat you guys?
They fucking smoked us. It was a bunch of baloney, though. I will say there were some shenanigans. They like started the game early. We didn't really like get a play set, but I'll give it to them. Hey, they got it done. With no shirts on to boot. I was a little pissed.
I seen that dive into the snake, and it was like straight pat, like the most standard dive you've ever seen in your life. Straight pads, gut up, making sure you weren't getting any turf burn. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Arturo wasn't risking that. That was funny for sure. Yeah. All right, we got Bunkered Media. What are your predictions for this weekend? You did already kind of go through a top 4.
Yeah.
Choose a team to win and a dark horse team. I think we kind of know who they are too.
Yeah, I kind of am okay.
Gotta give it to them. Okay. Choose a team to win.
So I'm gonna
all your money on the line.
All my if I had to put all my money on the line, I'm gonna go with my original like favorite team of all time. I'm gonna say Infamous wins MAO, and they're like,
ooh,
I love like. I was a huge Chris Lasoya. I wanted to be Chris Lasoya. Dude,
no don't kidding. We all? Don't we all want to be Chris Lasoya?
Halloween for 3 years in a row, I drew the like the sideburns on my face, and I had I had a pony DM. Remember he had his like when he went to trauma. He went to trauma. I had the pony DM the whole 9 yards. So nice. I'm gonna say Infamous just because they're like my ride or die.
Dude, let's go. All right, we got Young Stevie. He says, Vince, thank you for doing. Yep, in the house. Thank you for doing your part to grow the sport as media. And he wants to know, how do you determine if information you get is legitimate, or how often are you positive you got a good tip and it turned out to be something else, vice versa? And why are you still not in the Discord?
There we go. So I'll hit on all those real quick. So kind of going back to the information side of things, I don't, and I've learned a lot, right? So I always say I'm not a journalist. So I've learned what stuff needs to be, what can be released and what should be released. There's a difference, right? Mm-hmm. There's definitely, it's a being an outsider of paintball. I thought like everything was great. Everything's news. Everything should go out there to a certain extent. Obviously I learned along the way that like some stuff just doesn't need released. Like I had the pro brackets for Florida the same day you guys did. Like that meeting with Jason Trozen, someone sent me the information. Someone actually sent me the recording of the meeting. So like I get information that I validate and triple validate. Like
damn, I can't believe Cody Mikowski sends you that.
It's definitely not Cody Mikowski. You cannot get anything out of Cody Mikowski.
Just kidding.
So
speculation, pure speculation, folks.
Pure speculation. It was definitely a pro player though that sent me that information. But it was not from Infamous. So that being said, I reach out to people, and if I hear a rumor, first of all, it's like you also have to gut check it yourself. If you hear something that's like really outlandish, I'm like, I don't know about that. But a lot of times, and even I've learned just from talking to you two, it's like, just reach out and ask. Like, there are definitely people who want to see paintball grow, and they want to give you the truth. They want to give you real information. But before I put it out, I will ask several people. I'll either reach out directly to that person. So kind of like how I do it, I reach out to that person directly. I reach out to another professional within the sport that may be on the same team. And then I reach out to someone who's very trusted in the industry that knows, right? That knows what's going on. And I never give up my sources like at all. And because in this side of things, like your reputation's everything. Like,
So it
and
might be Cody.
So no, it's definitely not. So
I'm just kidding.
Like Marcelo, for example, if you were to tell me something because you're like, hey, this is like, if you want to give me like a hint on something like, hey, this be on the lookout, this might be coming out. I would never, ever tell anybody like, hey, Marcelo told me this, by the way, you know?
Yeah.
Well, you can't, right? Because if that ever gets out, then that's your business.
Exactly. No one's
you're
ever,
out of, you're done.
Yeah.
People are done doing work with you.
Yeah. No one's ever gonna. But there's definitely been situations where I have reached out to people like, hey, I know this is happening. Like, I've already confirmed this through several sources. Like, are you okay if I talk about this? Because if you're not, then, and that was a learning process, right? I had released some information. Someone was like, hey, that's not cool. And I was like, my bad. And I retracted it. Right. And I'll be the first one to say, my bad, my mistake. Like, I'm learning in this game. Like, I'm still learning how to do this the right way. And sometimes people are like, yeah, go ahead and release it. That's cool. And sometimes they're like, no, please don't release that. And there's also a business side of this. Our sponsors get the first right to release this information. Can you wait until they release it first? I'm like, yeah.
Right.
So it's cool sometimes to be in the know, and it's cool to have phone calls with people. They're like, yeah, this is happening. This is breaking down. I will say, and I don't want to take up too much time on this, but the Kyle Spica thing is the only thing so far that's got me, because I'm telling you right now, if I had, no kidding, big time, like pro players, like respected names in the industry that were like, no, Spica's not going to Dynasty. He's not going to Dynasty.
I did see, I saw one of your posts one day, and it was like, I've confirmed with people in the know, very close to the situation. No way, Kyle. And I was like, kind of chuckled because the deal was already done. We were just like waiting to release it.
And
like,
then,
oh, man, I want to tell him, but Ryan would kill me if we didn't release it first.
Well, and so then he like does the whole like Dynasty cryptic message thing, and I was all bought in. I was like, no, he's just trying to throw people off. That's not real. He's just trying. He's doing that on purpose. Like, and people were like, I don't know, man. I think this, like, Let's Talk Paintball, like, fans were like, I don't know. This kind of looks legit, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, it's a farce. It's like he's trying
that's so funny.
Yeah, he's trying to like deter people from thinking about where he's going. And then right before he went on the Spick and Span show, I'm not kidding, 30 minutes before they went live, I got a message from somebody like, that's not them. That was like, hey, he's going to Dynasty, just so you know. And I'm like, what? Like, so I all the people that told me he wasn't going to Dynasty was like, did you, like, hey, is he going to Dynasty? Is he going to Dynasty? And they're like, no, he's not going to Dynasty. I know he's not. I'm like, well, you're about to be wrong in 30 minutes. And so then after the news got released, people texting me was like, hey, man, I'm sorry. I really thought he wasn't going back to Dynasty. And I was like, man, like, so I will say you guys did a good job keeping that secret. That was one that did get me, but there was definitely some other stuff that I had gotten information on, like when the whole Revo implosion started happening. I had all the juice on that right after that meeting happened. And they were like, hey, please don't say anything about this right now. And I was like, done.
Yeah.
Won't say anything about it. Just because it's like, that's their business. That's their side of things. Like,
of course.
So that's how I get information. That's how I kind of like filter out what's real and what's not. I will say that both of you know a specific pro that tries to troll so hard, like sends like legitimately believable information that's fake, just to try to stir up news to see who's going to release it. And I know they send it to several people just to see who's going to say something about it. And I'm like, no, that's not real. Like, you can't.
And this isn't the pro paintball troll. This is just an actual pro paintball troll.
Let's just say this is a real pro player that plays for a very good team that likes. I can't confirm or deny it's but I'm just saying it's
round of applause.
I'm not like I said, I'm not saying it's but there's someone that definitely likes to have some fun. So
yeah, you got to keep it lit.
Yeah,
absolutely. Super in the know with like everything. I could see him doing that. It's funny,
dude. We got Tyler Johnsky. He says, let's go.
My
Vince
boy.
is the man. Yeah. He says you answered a lot of his questions on the live stream. He just wanted to say what's up. So Tyler says what's up to you.
Dude, Tyler was actually, he was one of the guys that was like, you need to go on PTG. You need to tell them like your paintball, like how you got into Paintball Story because it's not a birthday. And I was like,
So tell us. We got to know.
So, I did, it wasn't a birthday. Did not get into paintball for a birthday. Like, I know everyone says it's like a birthday, they do that. But for me, it was a friend of mine had gotten a Tippmann 98 custom. And we were like 10 years old, and he got it, and he was like, "Hey, you got to come over to my house and like shoot this cool thing called a paintball gun." So, or paintball marker rather, right?
That was
so
my first Tippmann. Yeah.
So we went over and shot it. I was like, "This thing's amazing." And I came from like kind of a poor middle class family, so I really couldn't afford that. So I went to Walmart and got like what is it, like a little Talon? What were those, like Brass Eagle Talon?
Yeah.
We played one time out in the woods, and I was like, "This is a mistake. I need to do anything I could do." So I went, I like mowed lawns, did everything I possibly do to get a Spider Victor with a 12-ounce CO2 and a shake and bake hopper. And that's kind of how it happened. And I fell in love with paintball because my first tournament I played was a 3-man on a hyperball field with that Spider Victor. And we were playing against this team who had box shockers. And it was like, what I thought was old, like 40-year-old guys. I'm 32. I don't think 40 is that old anymore. But like 40-year-old guys with like box shockers destroying everybody in this tournament. And I ran through and bunkered all 3 of them with a Spider Victor. And the crowd went nuts. And this was like, both my teammates get shot out. They're like kids like me. And I'm sitting there like, I don't know what to do. And this was back in like the points days where like you get a point, you get points for killing, you get points for pulling the flag, you get points for hanging, right? So in my mind, I'm like, okay, we're in second to last place. The only way we don't get last is if I go run and pull this flag. And I'm like 11. So I run and pull the flag, and the 2 guys are like looking the complete opposite direction. I shoot both of them. I run to try to get to the start box so I can hang the flag. The other guy comes out of the corner. I shoot him. And now I have a shake and bake hopper. I'm like pink, 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 hang the flag. And the whole area erupts. The team ended up winning the tournament, but it was like, here's this 11-year-old that just smoked these 3 guys in a run through, and I didn't even know what a run through was at the time. In my head, I was like, what would Chris Lasoya do? Like, that was in my, what would Chris Lasoya do right now? He would just run. So I just ran and grabbed the flag, shot all of them. That's like, fell in love with paintball. And like, that's like how I got into it and stayed into it the whole 9 yards.
So that would have been like around 04 or 03, somewhere in there?
No, 01.
01. Dude.
Yeah,
amazing.
01, 02 area. I was like 11 going on 12. Like I said, it was right around like they were, the shoebox shockers were phasing out, and like the SFTs were phasing in, right? Or like it was around like that kind of stuff where people had shoebox shockers, and then I think the NXT shocker came out in like 2008 or something like that. But yeah, it was, here I am playing a full hyperball tournament with a Spider Victor.
Dude, having fun.
Yeah,
absolutely. Brother, thank you so much for coming and joining us here on PTG. Definitely, we should make this a normal thing. Have you on, every so often, and kind of catch up on what's going on the divisional side in the WNXL. I think Tyler and I are going to try to get over and commentate one of the games. I know Anthony had reached out to us to see if we could make it work with our schedules. We'll see when the schedules drop if that does line up. But yeah, man, definitely having you on here to continue to shed light on the players over there would be fantastic. And just really appreciate your insight to the game and what you're doing. And hopefully maybe we could get on Let's Talk Paintball sometime, huh?
Yeah, there we go.
So I've reached out. I know you guys are busy, and I would love to do like a Let's Talk Paintball live, especially. It's just such a great experience because people get to ask questions, and it's live, and it's kind of like,
totally.
So yeah, that'd be awesome. And then and I appreciate you guys first and foremost also for like on the background. If I have any questions, you're always very responsive at answering them and kind of like letting me know certain things. So thank you so much for being great ambassadors for the sport and helping out guys like me.
Always, man. Always.
Real quick, I did notice in the Discord, Did It Hurt says, why didn't you come on his podcast yet?
Yeah, so Did It Hurt? So he's reached out twice, and like I want to do his show so bad because there was one that he had on. It was like my boys, it was like Todd Boyer and them. I was going to go on.
Oh yeah, tight.
Unfortunately, wife got sick, and then the last one he had scheduled, I coached my son's t-ball team, and he was like, "Hey, 6:30," and I was like, "Dude, that's my kid's t-ball game. Like I can't not go to that." So him and
Good reasons. It'll happen.
him and I will make it happen. We will do a Did It Hurt? Let's Talk Paintball collab. It's coming. It will happen.
Awesome. There we go.
Be sure to drop your social medias on here as well, where people can follow you, your Instagram, where they can keep up with everything you got.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Let's Talk Paintball. You can also, if you want to pick up and support Let's Talk Paintball, XXV the label, Mike Diaz from PB Fit has a bunch of cool stuff, and I take zero profit off of any of these shirts. They're just to get good quality like shirts out to people so they can rep paintball and wherever they go.
Nice.
Awesome. He's such a great guy. Shout out to XXV.
Yeah.
Amazing. And thank you so much, Vince, for coming on the show. We can't wait to see you again, and we'll see you out on the East Coast here shortly.
Yeah, I'll see you guys this week.
Yep. Let's go,
brother.
baby.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you.
Peace.
All right, PTG fam. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Vince is awesome. Love what he's doing for the community and for the sport. It's so important to have people out there that are just caring about sharing our stories and sharing the stories of the athletes, the players, the companies, the industry, everything. Getting this stuff out is crucial to keeping people engaged and having people interested in what we do. Can't stress it enough. So shout out to all the media. This was one for the culture. Again, hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys would like, you could head over to ptgpaintball.com. Become a supporter of the show. Click the Patreon link. Become a supporter at any level and get all sorts of amazing perks. Most importantly, the coolest perk of all is becoming a GOAT, getting access to the Discord, being involved in the community, and being one of the greatest of all times. All right, everybody, as always, you already know it. We'll see you very soon.